So, what if our first contact with an alien intelligence had nothing to do with advanced weapons or warp drives, but everything to do with character? We're going to dive into a story called The Long Pull of Empty Space, which explores exactly that. And it all kicks off with one man waking up to find himself completely and utterly lost. 412. Just remember that number. That's how many days our pilot Harlan Breckenridge has been in cryo-sleep when his ship's computer finally brings him around. And the moment he's awake, he knows something is very, very wrong. You see, his mission was supposed to be a 90-day trip, a simple survey flight. Instead, he's been out for over a year. The ship's navigation system is, to put it mildly, confused. And he's stranded in a part of space that his charts basically label, "Here be dragons." He's not just off the beaten path, he's fallen off the map of the known universe. Now, what I love about this story is the question it forces us to ask right from the get-go. It just brushes aside all the usual sci-fi tropes, the laser cannons, the universal translators, and asks something way more profound. What if the real key to meeting another intelligence isn't what tech you have, but how you choose to behave? So, out there in this uncharted blackness, Breckenridge realizes he's not alone after all. He picks up a signal, and it's coming from an object that's 12 kilometers long. I mean, that is huge, and it's clearly artificial. It's broadcasting this incredibly structured signal, one that feels less like an SOS and more like a patient, deliberate invitation, like someone's waiting. And this is where the story's whole philosophy clicks into place. Breckenridge has a choice. He could go the aggressive route, right? Breach the object, drill into its hull, demand answers, and just take whatever he can find. Or he could do something much simpler, something much more human. He could just knock. He chooses conversation over extraction, patience over force. And his idea of a knock is just a masterclass in respect. He doesn't rush in. First, he just watches. For hours. Then he really listens, analyzing the signal. He approaches slowly, carefully. And finally, in this really amazing moment, he suits up, goes outside, and just places his hand on the surface. He starts a conversation, not with words, but with a simple rhythmic touch. And through this incredibly careful process, it all dawns on Breckenridge. This thing wasn't just left here by accident. The signal, the location, the way it seems to be responding, it's all on purpose. This isn't just space debris. It's a message in a bottle, and whoever sent it really, really wanted it to be found by the right kind of person. And this is the payoff, the whole point. His polite, patient knock isn't met with defense shields or a complicated test, it's met with a gift. The object, which he starts calling the correspondent, seems to recognize the quality of his approach, and it responds by just opening up and offering him a massive, unbelievable amount of information. And what a gift it is. 412 terabytes of data. See that number again? 412 days of sleep, 412 terabytes of information. It's a staggering amount of knowledge. A whole civilization's library, basically, just handed over because he chose to knock instead of breaking the door down. Buried inside all that data, one of the first concepts they translate is this word witness. This is the correspondence term for conscious, self-aware life. You know, it's the difference between a rock just being a rock and a person looking at their own hands and thinking, wow, I'm here. I'm aware that I'm here. It's that strange, looping miracle of knowing that you know. Now, the data also contains an inventory of life in the galaxy. And this chart, well, it paints a pretty sobering picture. Out of 60 civilizations that reached a certain stage, only 20 are still around. More than half either wiped themselves out or changed into something unrecognizable. It turns out that just persisting is incredibly rare. Maybe because the instinct to breach is way more common than the wisdom to knock. The document actually has a name for this dangerous phase that all intelligent life seems to go through, the long middle. Think about it. It's that terrifying gap when a species gets smart enough to invent things that can destroy their whole world, but hasn't yet become wise enough to not use them. That's the great filter, the tightrope walk that most civilizations apparently fall from. And the 20 civilizations that actually made it through? Oh, they sound fascinating. The document gives them these incredible names that hint at what they're like. You've got the patient, a species that must have mastered the art of waiting, the argumentative, who probably build their society on endless debate, and my favorite, the wanderers, a species defined simply by their capacity for awe. Breckenridge doesn't just fly back to Earth and become a hero. No, he dedicates the entire rest of his life, almost 4 decades, to translating this gift in isolation. And when he's 89, knowing he won't live to see the project finished, he passes the whole legacy on, the ship, the data, the mission itself, to a brilliant young archivist named Mira Vasconcellos. His final message to Mira just perfectly sums up the whole philosophy. He tells her, "You're a link in a chain, not a destination." This incredible knowledge isn't some trophy for one person to own. It's an inheritance. It's a responsibility to be carried forward. Her job isn't to be the end of the story, but to be the next, vital link. So what was actually in those 412 terabytes? Well, it boils down to 3 huge things. First, the inventory. A list of life that proves we're not alone, a cure for cosmic loneliness. Second, the map. Literal coordinates to find all the other survivors. And finally, the philosophy. The wisdom of the authors, meant to help others like us survive our own long middle. When you put all those pieces together, the ultimate purpose of this gift is just profound. It's to start a conversation. To take all these lonely, isolated points of light, these witnesses scattered across the void, and weave them together into a network built on respect and shared experience. And so Mira takes up that mission. Her first journey is to use the map to find the Wanderers. And why them? Because they're kindred spirits. Like Breckenridge standing before the correspondent, they are a people who understand that sometimes the wisest thing you can do is wait and listen and choose to knock instead of breaking down the door. And that brings us to the end, to the one last echoing question that the correspondence authors leave us with. It's a question that reframes everything. Because all this knowledge, the map, the history, the warnings, it's all just data until you ask yourself, what's the point? What is wisdom for if not to act on it, to connect with others, and to become a better link in that long, long chain?